Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the Blue Flame. How are we all doing in this liminal space that we call the Eclipse Wormhole? We are in that period of flow state in between that really amazing blood moon eclipse in Virgo that we had last week and the Aries new moon solar eclipse that is coming at the end of March on the 29th. In this liminal space, I get to say Happy New Year's Eve because as I'm recording this on the 19th of March, we are on the eve, on the cusp of the March equinox. The March equinox, of course, is the Persian New Year and the astrological New Year. So as we move through this midway point between the two eclipses, we are also moving through that balancing energy of new forward movement, springing forward, if you will, for the Northern Hemisphere in particular, for us energetically. The March equinox has that energy of coming into a new phase of being. And this is what we're here to talk about today. Actually, we're here to talk about two things, which are the March equinox, which is happening at 2:01 a.m. Pacific on March 20th, and then the Venus star point. And the Venus star point is really what we're here to talk about. This is happening on the 22nd of March. I put it in my calendar at 7:37 a.m. Pacific, but it's really kind of moving through that entire day of the 22nd into the 23rd. So as the sun rises on the 22nd, wherever you are, Venus and the sun will be conjunct. As the sun sets on the 22nd, Venus and the sun will be conjunct. And as it rises on the 23rd, that conjunction, Venus will have begin the re-emergence as a morning star at that point. Now, interestingly, this moment, this period of time, if you will, of the Venus star point happens to coincide with the exact moment that the moon, that Luna, reaches second quarter or half moon phase, which means that as the sun and Venus are conjunct at 2 degrees of Aries, the moon will be exactly square them at 2 degrees of Capricorn. This is a really powerful time for exploring how our unconscious desires magnetize, pull in for us, to us, that which we express outwardly. The sun is our outward expression. Now, the sun is very tightly enamored, very powerful in the sign of Aries. And the equinox 2 days before, or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, on the 20th of March, anyhow, marks the moment that the sun crests into that 0 degree of Aries. Now, this is called the cardinal point. It's also the world axis. It's one of those places where the seasons shift. So for those of us in the southern hemisphere, this means that we will be moving from summer to fall. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, this means that we are moving from winter to spring. And we come into the new phase. And if you can feel what the equinox is compared to what the solstice is, the solstice is the longest day and or the longest night. The equinox is equilateral. It's a moment of balance. We come into this balance point, and from that moment, the length of the days and nights starts to shift in the other direction from whence it was. We can feel this as a liminal point as well, right? Because it is not the hard season of summer or winter. It is a transitional time. Now, summer and winter are course, also transitional times, but that changing of the guard really feels more pronounced in the spring and in the fall, doesn't it? We can really see everything starts to bloom or everything begins to shed, to fall away. Now, there's a couple of really interesting things going on during the Venus star point and the March equinox that I have been called to highlight for us. And it really has to do with this balancing energy. And in particular, the balancing of our masculine and feminine natures. Now, you can feel this with Luna, which is often represented as feminine energy, being in square to Venus, which again is often represented as feminine energy, that magnetic pulling, that creative desire energy, right? Mars being the counterpoint for her. The sun is often typified as a masculine energy. We can feel this in the raw energy, right? That energy of the solar deity is often perceived or represented in masculine form. Not always, but often. And so when there is this squaring between Luna and the sun, with Venus meeting with the sun, we can read this as a moment where we can shift our relationship to that other, and I'm using that word very specifically, to that other aspect of our being. Now, if you are embodied, Venus is very embodied energy, right? The feminine, that primordial feminine, that kundalini rises up. It is the embodied. Whereas the masculine is that Shiva energy, that Christ consciousness energy that moves down through the crown. They both meet in the heart. So I said that and everything started to move in me. So now I have to pause. It just started to like dance. We could think of the heart as the dance floor where these partners, these masculine and feminine energies that exist within us dance, where they meet and dance. So what if you are in a very embodied form that is feminine natured? My nature is quite feminine, you may have noticed. I do have a strong masculine as well, but my outward nature is quite feminine. Some of us are more androgynous in nature. Some of us have a really fluid balance in our expression of gender, and that's beautiful. Now, if you're in a more feminine form, if you tend towards that more feminine expression, sometimes the masculine can get out of balance or be shunted aside, or we seek it outside of ourselves even. Like, I need that masculine presence outside of myself in order to feel supported. Now, conversely, if we tend towards a more masculine embodied form, if our embodiment expression, and it doesn't mean that we're in a male body or a female body. You can be in a male body and have a more feminine expression. You can be in a female body and have a more masculine expression. This is not about the physical form in which you are currently residing. It is about how you relate to the world around you. So if your relationship to the world around you is of a more masculine expression, you can sometimes put aside those things that are feminine. A lot of women in high corporate or political standing in our current era, the era we're emerging from anyways, have this, right? You could look at Hillary Clinton, she's a good example, or Angela Merkel. They're very good examples of female embodied forms who express a more masculine nature. And it's because of the way that the world has been structured. There's this sense that in order to reach those points in the world, you need to be in a masculine expression. So can you feel how the feminine can get subjugated in that? So what if instead of seeking outside of ourselves to find that counterpoint, to find that balance, we allow this energy where we're moving through the liminal field of this eclipse wormhole to explore the ways that we relate to the feminine and or the masculine aspects of our being. How are we talking? You can ask yourself this in journaling exercises or through dance, ecstatic dance, through a walk in the woods, however it is, deep meditation, trance states, through movies and TV, through reading of books. All of these different ways are ways to get in there. It's about asking the question and setting the intent. So this can be something that happens while you're in the shower. It can be something that happens while you're washing the dishes. It can be something that happens while you're driving home from work. Those times when you can go introspective. The Venus star point, especially a Venus star point happening in the middle of, on the exact middle day between two eclipses, is a great day to do some very introspective heart journeying. And like I said before, find that place where these parts of your being, where all of the aspects of your being meet in your heart center. Now, astrologically, what is going on other than the Venus conjunction with the sun in square to the moon is really amazing. And this is something, okay, I talked when we met together here on the YouTube for the Virgo lunar eclipse. We talked about the Arcturian yod that was being formed with the Sun Saturn conjunction and Uranus. Now, this is just tightening. Obviously, the Sun has moved off and is going on into Aries and making all of this yumminess, right? But Saturn and Uranus, in that yod, pointing that finger at Arcturus, is tightening as Saturn is moving closer and closer to the 24 degree. By the equinox, Uranus is already at the 24 degree of Taurus. So by the time we get to the Aries, that eclipse, that solar eclipse, Saturn will have moved into the 24 of Pisces. Uranus will be at the 24 of Taurus, and they will be exactly pointing at Arcturus. So that means that this entire cycle is a time for reassessing our relationships. Can you feel how that masculine feminine nature that's being highlighted for us during the Venus star point is our relationships, our relationship with the self, the various aspects of the self, the part of the self that is genderless, the soul, the part of the self that remembers that you have had incarnations in every form. And the one that you're in now is not your only home. There's another piece. There's a couple more pieces, and we're going to kind of race through them, but I really want to give a feel for this energy of rebalancing the relationship between the masculine and the feminine, because this is a collective expression of the energy as well, not just for us individually, but of course, the work is done first in the heart of ourselves. And through that, our expression helps to hold the space for the collective remembering as well. So there is an asteroid named Shiva or Siva. This is the masculine counterpoint to Shakti, right? Shakti and Shiva. The Shiva asteroid is transiting right now 28-29 of Sagittarius by the Aries new moon. Actually, by the Venus star point, will be at 0 of Capricorn, coming into another cardinal point, right? But during the equinox in particular, we are experiencing Shiva dancing in square to Neptune, as Neptune also begins to make those final turns in the 29 of Pisces, getting ready to move into Aries in May, end of April, maybe mid-April, actually. Neptune is a genderless energy. Now, we have called Neptune Poseidon, but in pre-Greco-Roman pantheon, Neptune was a feminine force. We can feel that in the Mer people, right? So part of the energy of Neptune is the movement from the matriarchy to the patriarchy, and then the blooming into what comes, that divine union of the two, right? We move through that creative embodied energy into the quote unquote age of reason. So we move up and then we come down and we meet in union. And that's the Neptunian cycle. That's why Neptune is so dreamy and transcendent, the ruler of Pisces, shamanic energy, moving through, removing veils. The dream time is Neptune's realm. So when we feel Shiva, the creator of the dance floor, the holder of the container of the universe in which Shakti dances, in this beautiful square, as they both get ready to move from mutable signs into cardinal, we can feel this energy of shifting old karmic structures into the work that we do in the world, into our dharma. And this is a big aspect of, not just of this eclipse wormhole energy, but of the entirety of this year 2025. Now, the sun today, as we're in this cusp of the equinox, is transiting Neptune. Then, as Venus crosses over back into Pisces, so on the 22nd, we have the Venus star point. By the 23rd, Venus will be conjunct with Neptune once again, moving backwards. By the time we get to that solar eclipse, Mercury will be getting ready. Mercury on the solar eclipse will actually be at the 0 point of Aries and then moving across Neptune. And then they're both going to come back across again next month in April. And then there's another energy, which is Isis, divine mother energy, creative energy, very connected to the sex magic priestess temples, the rememberer of forgotten wisdom, rememberer, the putting back together, the calling in all aspects of self energy. And on the Venus star point, Isis at 16 degrees of Aries will be exactly conjunct the counterpoint to Lilith, which is a hypothetical point like Lilith, Black Moon Lilith is, which is Priapus. Priapus is the male fertility god. The male fertility god. Sometimes associated with the patriarchy, the thing that we are gifted to remember is that the masculine has a role to play in creation. So as Priapus and Isis conjunct during this Venus star, can you feel once again how we are being asked to reconcile, to recollect, to remember that all aspects of ourselves deserve a seat at the table? That brandishing any aspect of our being as unworthy of a seat, unworthy of a voice, really damages all of us. This is where our dis-ease comes from. This is where grief comes from. This is where rage comes from. Because that part of us that we cast out, that we cast aside, whether it's our feminine nature or our masculine nature, the little girl who is scared, the little boy who is scared, that part of us that got angry at someone and said mean things, that part of us that is afraid to be seen, whatever this part that we have demonized, left, or cast aside, will be the part of us that does the most creating in the world. How's that for irony? We will often think, oh, all I have to do is repeat a mantra, say these words over and over and over again, and I will believe them. But you can only truly believe them if all of you has been integrated into that creation, into that dream. If you've left parts of yourself outside of it and said, you can't be here, you don't belong, that part of yourself will continue to pull. So when we talk about becoming a frequency match for that which you want to create in the world, that's what we're talking about, right? We're not saying you have to be up here all the time. We're saying you have to find that equal point, that balance point, where that which you create in the world is coming from your consciousness, not solely from your unconscious. And the way that we do that is by bringing our awareness to those unconscious bits of us, to those parts of ourselves that we have cast aside or asked to be quiet. It's not through banishing negative thoughts, it's through hearing them when they come up and then asking them where they came from and why. Over in the members portal during this Venus star point equinox phase, I'm going to be recording a transmission and activation for us. I'm going to post it in the liminal space between the equinox and the Venus star point, so on the 21st. And we're going to be working with the fascia and the connective tissue, really feeling how our physical fascia, our physical connective tissue reflects the connective tissue of the universe, of the cosmos, and that interweaving energy between the quote unquote feminine and the quote unquote masculine, that they interconnect. As we move through the end of the month, the members portal is going to shift from Patreon over to Circle. I will have more details about that coming soon. But if the really powerful Libra full moon, eclipse, redwood ceremony, or the fascia transmission that's coming, or any of the other things that are in the container of the members portal call to you, you can still come over to Patreon and find all of that for now. And joining now, you get some special pricing, because as we move to circle, things are going to change a bit, and we're going to have some new structures coming in. We will also have our new moon circle on the 29th on Saturday. And again, in the members portal, there will be more information. Please let me know in the comments how you feel this liminal energy moving through your system. How are you negotiating with those different aspects of yourself? How are you interacting with those different aspects of yourself? And what do you feel when you feel into your feminine nature? What do you feel when you feel into your masculine nature? And what do you feel when you feel into their marriage, their dance in your heart? Thank you so, so very much, as always, in the always, with so much and many loves from the all dimensions and beyond, beyond. Please do be sure to subscribe and like, and to share the video if that calls to you. Thank you.